What's good, guys? My name is Alissa, and I'm here with multiple Black authors in the episode community, and we're just here to discuss the blatant disregard of real Black issues that the episode team has completely ignored. Um, and I'm just here to start that discussion because in my previous video, I spoke about it alone, but I'm not really knowledgeable on every aspect and certain things I were not a part of. So I thought that it would be best if I brought together multiple voices on this topic. So hello, everyone. If you would like to introduce yourselves, let's start with, from where I can see it, Sweet is the first person to my left.
Hi, I'm Sweet Stories. I joined the community back in, I think it was 2018, whichever was the H&B contest. So that's when I joined the community. So yeah, that's who I am.
Okay, and then the next person to my right is Clarky. Do you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, my name is Clarky. On Instagram, it's clarky.eps, but on the app, it's just Clarky or whatever. I joined the community back in 2017 as a reader, and I didn't start writing until about 2018.
Okay, cool. And then we have the next person at the bottom to my left is T, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm T. On Instagram, it's Stories of a Wordsmith, and I joined episode in 2016 as a reader. No, actually, I've been reading episode since like 2014, since whenever the year that they launched, I started reading episode. So a long time, and I joined as a writer in 2016. And I haven't written something since like 2017, but I'm still here sometimes.
Relatable. All right, and
Yeah.
the person at the bottom in the middle is Jazz, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, Jazz. And on Instagram, I'm Jazz Narrates. I joined the community in 2016. Started writing also sometime in 2016. And that's about it.
Okay, cool. And then last person at the bottom to my right, we have Ella. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm author Ella. I joined episode the end of 2017. I started writing the end of 2017, but I really didn't get into the community until early 2018. Yeah. And my Instagram, they're _Ella.
All right, cool. And then me personally, I think I started in the episode community at around 2017. And then, whenever Mean Girls came out, I started reading, not Mean Girls, Demi Lovato. I was super obsessed with that. So whenever that was.
Demi Lovato was 2017?
Yeah.
I feel like Mean Girls came first, right?
Mean Girls was a weird time.
Yeah, because Mean Girls is when Ink launched, and it was really funny looking.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's when
I think Demi was a little after, but yeah.
Yeah, so those times are about the same. Okay, so let's just jump straight into the topic. Just overall, I would say that a lot of Black authors in this community have been fighting to be represented, fighting to be heard, and fighting to have just some type of consequences for just the blatant racism and discrimination that's in the community. So starting again with Sweet, can you recall the earliest instance of discrimination that you faced or witnessed in the community?
For me, it's just what I noticed is as a reader, because when I started reading, it was a little bit a few months before I started writing. There wasn't a lot of representation. I felt like the only time that I would see anybody like me in a story is when I CC'd myself in, So I quickly noticed as a reader that there really was not any kind of representation for for Black people. And then as an author as well, when I started writing, I started befriending a lot of Black authors, and yet I'd see that their stories were not promoted as much, were not recognized as much. I think was it 2018 when was the first Black History Month shelf?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed throughout the times that that's really when people would start to pay attention to Black stories. So that's my first experience, is like not a lot of representation and or recognition.
Yeah, I can definitely agree to that. I actually think that my story was one of the stories on the first Black History Month shelf, but I did not know that that was actually the first Black History Month shelf, because I think that I was in the community February of like 2017. So that's actually interesting to me. I did not know that that was the first one. Next again, Clarky, can you recall the first instance of discrimination or being discriminated against in the episode community?
Yeah, certainly. Like when I joined the Instagram community for episode, the first thing I saw, like I swear the first post I saw was a video of a girl crying her eyes out. She's saying how she's been getting all these racist messages and all these mean comments, and she's talking about how she loves episode, she loves writing, but she just can't handle it anymore, and that she's leaving the community. Like that was the first thing I saw when I joined the Instagram community.
That's
I saw that and I
terrible.
logged
That is
right off.
horrible.
Like,
That is horrible. And unfortunately, that's not surprising. T, do you have any recollection of discrimination in the community?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've been here a while, so I'm trying to think. Like, I think one of my first instances was when I was addressing taupe tanning. You remember when we used to call it taupe tanning?
Yep. Yeah.
So, I believe, what was it? Because at first when I joined the community, and I see all these characters, when the ink stories started becoming popular, when I see all these characters that they're taupe, I'm like, oh, so they're adding people of color, but then I found out they're supposed to be white. So I was confused because I was like, how are they white? They're darker than me. How are they white? I don't understand. They're whatever. So I had addressed the taupe tanning, and someone came into my DMs and like just started saying a whole bunch of like racist stuff and like trying to kind of like make it, but they're like, it's just a game, but it's a tan. White people could be this dark when they tan, blah, blah, blah. They were just like saying a whole bunch of stuff and then telling me that like Black people are impatient and that we don't, that we're always complaining about everything, and that why are we taking the game so serious? It was just like a whole like bunch of stuff like that. That was like probably at the end of 2016. So it was kind of disturbing. And then from then on, a whole lot of stuff started happening. Like at this point, I don't even know what to begin addressing because it's been a while.
Yeah, and it has been happening since. I would say the last instance yesterday, probably, for multiple people. So let's just say from the first instance you guys are saying, like 2016 to now, that's like 4 years and nothing has been done. Jazz, do you have any recollection of discrimination in the episode community?
I have a few.
Speak on it.
Yeah, just like initially coming on and not seeing a lot of diverse stories, not seeing representation, and then asking for that and not getting it, not receiving any response until Black Girls Nerds wrote an article. I think it was called People of Color, Marketable but Not Profitable.
Oh, yeah,
so
I remember
we started
that.
circulating that article, and episode paid attention then when their feet came under the fire and being called out. And they got a group of us together on calls. They created a document, and then they submitted their 2017 diversity standards, which what they posted wasn't even what they had reviewed with the people that they had spoken to who helped them create it. So that was one of the first things, them ignoring that and not doing any of the things that they said that they were going to do. I would say another more glaring instance was with the first Black History Month shelf, where they called for that shelf. asking for recommendations, there were a lot of races taking over that post.
Yeah.
It was a lot of them. Episode did nothing about it. Miss, one of their top authors at the time, was there talking about Irish slavery. She was being racist.
Oh
She
my
was just
God.
out of her pocket. We called for her to be banned, but they did nothing. They kept her there. Her stories are still there. They didn't penalize her. Nothing happened. And then they use the excuse that they can't tell you about a punishment, but that's because any company that fires somebody for racism will tell you that.
Exactly.
They did nothing. They let her run rampant through the community. They let the racist comments fly. And it just
and then those people attacked others too.
Her
followers.
It was, Kaylee's not on this call, but she was one of the people that was around the first time this happened with the Black History Month. People were harassing her, calling her the N-word. They were getting in people's
pictures,
harassing them. They did nothing about it. I would say that would be, I mean, there's many more to follow, but that would be the first most glaring where we got to see how racist the community within itself was. And then for episode to do nothing on top of that was just a lot. Like with Limelight, when they first released Limelight, you remember they had like two skin tones that could possibly fit a person of color.
Yeah.
And then the features were all very Eurocentric.
Yeah.
And we said that we're always the afterthought.
Yep.
We've always had to do the work for them. They never do the work.
The fact that
go ahead, T.
The fact that they needed LB's help to learn how to pick out
That's
lip
exactly
colors.
what I was gonna say.
I just why I'm glad LB helped them, but at the same time, why are you?
I did not know that.
Black woman, you need a Black woman's labor to help you learn how to match skin color. Like, is it really?
I feel like episode has the same energy as, that friend that says they're an ally, they say they care, but the only time they want to learn is when they can go into your DMs and ask for a quick fix. That's what I feel like episode is.
Exactly.
It's like a lot of members in the community as well. A lot of non-Black people in the community are like that. They just go into your DMs as if you're offering to help them and ask you all these questions as if you're supposed to give them the labor.
Free labor. Emphasis on the free.
The thing about that kind of mindset too is that you'll never get an in-depth understanding just asking a few questions. You'll never get the mindset where you can learn and kind of self call yourself out. You have to be able to do that, to actively learn, to be curious, and to keep educating yourself so that you don't become somebody that just wants a quick fix. But episode has never gone past that. They've never educated themselves. They've always waited for us to say something to see if something's wrong.
Don't get me started on the stuff that they've told me and Ross. Calling us sassy, telling me to be civil, like, it's like,
what?
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like,
all right, Jazz, if that was your last bit of input, I'm going to go ahead and ask Ella the same question. Can you recall any instances or the first instance of discrimination in the episode community or times it's happened since?
Okay, well, there's plenty of times, but I'm going to say the first time that I remember, some of you guys probably remember there was an author who published a story that was very problematic, very stereotypical. T, what was exactly in that story? Because I can't remember right now.
So she was referring to the color taupe as a sexy Spaniard tan. She was using very ableist things to refer to features and other skin tones. She just overall had a lot of stuff. And then she had the nerve to, at the intro of the story, to say, if you get offended by everything, then the story's not for you.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. That was the first time I experienced racism in this community.
That was you and Kaylee, and yeah.
When I saw that, she had to be called out. Like, you don't do something like that. Once that happened, it was a group of us. We did speak to her on the side. We
We
messaged
did.
her. Nothing. Everything went straight through her head. She ended up posting up an apology after we told her to, and the apology was not sincere at all. After that happened, me, Kaylee, Ross, I don't know if it was Ross T, we started getting harassed. You know what? All the Black authors in this community
Zen,
who was
what's her name?
standing up.
Her name was Zen, right? The other girl who got harassed.
Zen, yeah,
Zen.
Zen.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were sending us pictures of nooses,
Yeah.
Yeah.
slaves being beat,
Slaves in
and
shackles, like a lot of stuff. Like it was just we were
yes,
getting a lot of her DMs with disgusting things all the
yes,
time. Like
yes. I got no, I'm not gonna say it because it's too graphic, but it was just like disturbing racist messages.
yeah,
And even after that happened, the author, she was basically playing victim and getting all her followers to basically like attack us.
yeah.
And we reported it to Episode. Episode said that they would handle it. I was on a Skype call with Episode creators. No, let me just say this. 3 months ago, they featured that author on a show.
Mm-hmm.
She is still in this community, still
She
able to
changes
write
her
stories.
name every
Yes,
couple of things. She's created a new profile on
I feel like I know
Episodes.
what you're talking about.
Yeah.
yeah. Nothing. People, I was so traumatized from that situation. I remember I took off work for a week because I was depressed. I could not sleep. I was staying up all night, like trying to talk to this girl, talking to people in the community, and they did nothing about it at all.
And still to this day, I think Zen is afraid of, talking to people in the community. When I first started following Zen, because I like her story, Attracted to the Nerd. I saw her, write posts about her kind of being afraid of interacting with people. You see, like when she posts up Instagram stories, you can't comment, you can't reach out. You know what I mean? So it's like that. What you guys went through really affects people long term. It's terrible that it happened.
Whenever I see that girl's name, I just feel so sick to my stomach. And also, it wasn't just her. There was a big, it's like an episode group, Episode Assemble.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
They were backing her up.
They were backing her up. And one of the members from, I think they have new people now. But back then, I think I still have the messages. I have to look somewhere. But, like, it's just so sick. And that episode did nothing. Nothing about it. Nothing at all. Makes me sick to my stomach.
And that's a constant trend with people that are, I would say, blasted or being held accountable publicly in our community on Instagram, is that we do all of this and then we are, as the victims, said or placed blame on for starting what they like to call drama in the community, which is discrimination. And then we bring, and then we bring it to the episode team's attention, and there are no repercussions, and they even go as far as saying that they can't do anything about it since this is happening on Instagram and it's not actually happening on their app, even though these are their authors.
I have one more thing to add. After that situation happened, a few months later, Episode made a rule saying that you cannot call out people. So after all this stuff happened, they made a rule to protect racist people like her from being called out on their BS.
Yep.
What have they done to protect us? Nothing. Nothing at all.
They said it's bullying. I'm sorry. I'm pro bullying when it comes to bullying racists.
these races, they can sit up here, they can say the N-word, they can put the N-word in their stories, they can
could
do
put me
whatever
in
they
a group
want.
chat calling me a yeah, okay, you could do all that,
Yeah,
but you can't
yeah.
like
They can.
erase me.
You want to know what episode's doing? They're featuring them. They're buying their stories. They're putting money in their pockets. But people like us, they don't give a about. I'm sorry, I'm cussing, but it just pisses
It's
me
all
off.
right.
No, it's frustrating.
I understand.
It's
I understand.
It's understandable.
But yeah, they own the only way. The only I'm sorry, I'm getting all like I'm just so
I
upset.
get it. Yeah, I get it.
They only give a fuck about us during Black History Month. That's it.
Literally.
Episode literally makes us their show ponies. When they want to look inclusive, they make us their show ponies. Like that's what they did recently when they came
on
up
Monday.
with that shelf. Like nobody agreed to that. We weren't
The
conscious
shelf.
about that. Nothing.
What
Like
shelf did they even put?
it wasn't even a shelf. Like the fact, like I could understand if
It wasn't.
afterward they were like, okay, our Black authors messaged us. This is very performative. Let's not put
I'm
this.
so sorry.
Clarky,
I can't hear you too well.
Oh. Can you hear
Yeah,
me
there's some
better?
feedback.
Okay. Let me try turning down my volume. I don't know.
Hello?
Okay, so since Clarky brought up the topic of episode using us as show ponies with the recent events that are happening today in our country and pretty much worldwide with the spark of excessive police force and more specifically police brutality, because there are marches actually happening in all 50 states, which were sparked after the murder of George Floyd by a Minneapolis police officer. Episode made a statement. Do you guys think that their statement on this matter was sincere?
I
No,
think
No.
it was like
sincerity
pulling
comes
teeth.
when you educate yourself. And
Sorry, real quick.
sorry.
Another member added in. I'm so sorry. Star, can you hear us? And can we hear you?
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself really quick, and I'm going to let you answer this question first, and then I'm going to call on the next person. Do you think that episode's statement was sincere, showing support to the Black authors in this community after the recent events in our country?
All right. So personally, I don't think it was sincere, but only for the fact that it seems like they had to be called out first in order to say something. So a lot of companies and a lot of people were speaking out against racism and made it a point to do it. And episode had to be almost told. We waited for their response, and then when it was a response, it was, what was it? What did they say first? Let's see. Oh, they shared past or previous Black History Month shelf winners, right? So if for me, it just seems a little like an afterthought. So it seems like they were like, hey, let's throw something together. We're getting some backlash. Figure out anything that you can and make a post about it just so that we have some sort of presence in the community, or or make it seem like we have some sort of care about Black creators. So it seemed rushed. It seemed like it wasn't sincere. But I don't know, that's episode. It's just like what I expect now.
And that's unfortunate. Clarky, since you actually sparked me to ask this question, I'm going to let you answer this as well, because unfortunately your story was included in this post. So how did that make you feel as well to be included in this?
Like honestly, I didn't even know about the post until I saw Sweet post about it on her story. So I clicked from there, and then that's when I saw the post. I didn't even know like I was in the shelf or anything yet, and I was just calling it out on like, what are you guys even like doing? Like this isn't like this isn't showing solidarity to anything. And then I like scroll through and actually look at the stories, and I see my story. I'm not tagged in the photo. I'm not added in the comments. They didn't email me. They didn't ask if I even wanted to be a part of it. Nothing. I found out about it when I saw the post. Like that, it doesn't feel good. Because it's like, if it was sincere, if you wanted to work with us, if you wanted to do something for us, like essentially, like you didn't even include us. So how is it really for us if you're not even including us in on the thought process? You're not even asking us if we want to be a part of it. Like, I saw some of the stories I saw in there were from authors that aren't even in the community anymore. Like, how are they going to agree to this or
I
agree
noticed
to
that
be
too.
associated with
Yep.
you? Like, it's a joke.
Yeah, yeah. Like, how does that help the situation? Like,
doesn't.
what does
Exactly.
Short answer.
Doesn't do it. They're just patting themselves on the
story
back.
covers, like, how does that benefit, number one, any of us? Let me scratch that back. How does that benefit the cause?
Yeah,
Then
that's the
number
main
two,
thing.
how does that, like,
Mhm.
I don't get it.
Exactly.
It benefits themselves. The only benefit that post had was people telling episode, wow, you guys are so not racist.
Yes,
That's
and that
it.
was
That's
bothering
literally what the
so
post
much.
was.
Like, in the comments, all you see is, yes, episode, this is why I love you guys. And the kicker is it wasn't even from Black authors or Black community members.
Exactly. And it's all.
I think you cut off Sweet.
Yeah, Sweet froze. There we go.
I'm so sorry. I keep getting cut out. Can y'all hear me?
It's okay. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. The internet where I am is really bad. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I was very upset by that post because that's not allyship. There was nothing there to help. There was nothing there pointing to any donations, no links. It was like pulling teeth to get them to the point that we are now. And by the time that they made their third post, I was like, okay, whatever. Like it wasn't genuine
that's the
at
thing.
all.
There's 3 posts. So they made the initial one with the authors that they didn't even care to tag, from stories from like months ago, Black History Month shelf. And then I lose my train of thought so fast. And then they didn't even provide information to actually help what's going on right now in the world, which is the main thing that needs to be done. That I feel like, well, no, that's just the truth. Like, what actually needs to be done is provide and donate some of the money that you guys are making from these Black authors, or provide some links to people that can help too. Instead, they're talking about matching up to $25,000 with money that's donated by their employees. So are they actually going to reach that $25,000 mark?
Exactly.
Right.
And then also,
they're
like,
not.
sorry, just like backtracking a bit too, when they did put up that second post, and then they had the links to where to donate and all that stuff. Like, I know some other people said that they messaged episode 2, but just speaking from my experience, I messaged the episode creators account. I told them how performative it was. I told them that they were using us like props in their literal performance, and that it just wasn't okay. I told them all of that. And then I told them, like, you need to be posting links. You need to be posting where people can donate and all of that stuff. And I sent them that link that Sweet had shared with us that had all of the different like donations and everything on it. I sent them that. And then I went back a few hours later and I messaged them again. And I said, out of all of the companies responding to this that I've seen, the Sims team has made the most sincere response I have seen. They have done everything right. If I were you as a company, I would emulate what they have done, because they did it correctly, right? And then what do I see in their post? Now they're talking about matching their employees like The Sims did, right? But the difference is that The Sims donated their own amount of money first, and then they said they were going to match their employees on top of that. Episode didn't do that. And then when they did post like donation links and everything, It was literally just what I had sent them and probably what
Exactly.
other authors had sent them too. I don't believe that they did the research to find their own resources to share. I don't believe that.
They
And
didn't.
I,
They admitted to that. They said we're posting the things that authors and community members have provided for us in the story. They said that. So
so
they
does
didn't look up
their
anything. They
episode
didn't do any research on their own.
Yeah, so that just shows that their own episode team is misinformed. And one of you guys brought, I think it was Jazz, brought it to my attention. And I completely forgot about this. And one of the authors, if I'm not mistaken, this was brought up during like the Black History Month shelf, and one of the authors made a comment about reverse racism, and the episode creators page liked the comment. And then once they started
Oh
receiving
yeah.
backlash, then they unliked the comment. But we saw it already. You can't hide now. Like, we saw you like the comment. And it's just like,
Yep, they sure did. They sure did.
mm-hmm. So I'm just like, I feel like there's people behind the scenes in the episode team that actually do, their ideals actually do line up with some of these big authors in the community.
Yes, and what honestly upset me about their last post was how they were saying, 50% of our employees are marginalized groups of people, but that's not Black. And right now, what we're dealing with is Black
Exactly.
issues.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So marginalized can be anything, other,
I actually wanted to say something. So, like, I've been seeing makeup companies, for example, they've been releasing the population of their employees, and I'm not just saying specifically people of color. They're literally releasing the percentage of like the group. So they're releasing the percentage of whether they're Latinx, if they're Black, whether they're Asian. And personally, I think Pocket Jones needs to do that. Pocket Jones episode itself, they need to do that, because every time I see their employees, I only see white people and Asians, and maybe that one token Black person, and I would like to see more. I'm sorry.
Actually, speaking on that, I'm sorry. But I went to their diversity page and I was looking, because they have pictures of like their staff up and stuff, right? I went through the whole thing and I only saw 2 Black girls. Those were the only Black people.
Yeah, I saw that too. And another thing is, like, they also like released a lot of the makeup companies also released the positions like the people of color in their companies are in. So whether they're like director levels or executive levels or headquarters levels. And I feel like Pocket Gems and episodes in general needs to do that too, because we need to see how serious they take Black people, because it's not just, I understand people of color representation, but Black people need a separate kind of representation, because non-Black people of color have a lot of proximity to whiteness compared to Black people. And obviously we could tell by Pocket Gems that that's true, because look at all the employees that they have. They're mainly Asian, mainly maybe they have like Latinx people that are like non-Black because they're in California and they do have like a high population of like non-Black Mexicans. I feel like they need to release that kind of information, because it's, if they want to show like solidarity or their allies, I feel like they need to start by showing us what they do for their employees first before they start showing us what they do for the community. Because since they don't do anything for the community, I'm pretty sure they didn't do anything for their Black employees either.
And I think that that's a very important point to make. And I think someone made this point earlier in their last post. They didn't mention the word Black at all. They used, I think, people of color, marginalized groups. And I think that was it. So a huge generalized post. Yeah, a huge generalized post.
Yeah.
When the topic at hand right now is Black people.
Yeah.
And maybe there's someone in their team that's not comfortable enough to just say Black, because, I mean, for some reason, a lot of non-Black people think that that's a bad word, but that's what we are. And it's not hard to say. And it wasn't said not once in that final post about them matching. I would like to know what what causes they're even matching to. And that's what I would like to have seen included in that post, because it was just a whole bunch of nothing. And I feel like it was the fact that they posted three posts for one in a span of, I think, less than 24 hours. I think that each one was just damage control instead of taking the time to become knowledgeable and do the research themselves, instead of calling on, which they did, said that they would be reaching out to other to Black community members, when we've been doing that for years, in reference to, like we said earlier, the 2017 diversity statement. And these people are not getting paid for their time, for their emotional labor, because they have to keep what's the word I'm looking for? They have to keep reinstating these traumatic instances that are happening in their own community, and they're not even being compensated for that. So I would like to know what causes they're even donating to in the first place. And I would definitely love to see what their Black employees are looking like, and what the number of Black employees they have in there look like, to be honest. So moving on to the next topic, but also staying on topic, let's discuss episode official stories. Before I say that, Clarky, would you like to say something really quick before we move on to episode official stories?
Yeah, just just wanted to pause real quick. Ella, I just wanted to let you know I keep hearing background noise. So if we could just mute our mics when we're not speaking, that way there's not feedback or anything.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about episode official stories. At the top of your heads, can you name some Black main characters in episode official stories? Starting with, I'm going to go with Jazz, since I haven't led a conversation with you yet.
I don't recall. I recall one that they stripped it away from the author in the community, Instant Princess.
Mm-hmm.
I do recall a few years ago, Scotty put together a list of stories. I think she and Jade at the time, they put together a list of stories that had, a diverse cast that were official stories, that had a person of color MC. I think there was one out of all of the stories. There wasn't a Black MC, there was just one. And here they are with this Black Lives Matter post, which I don't want to be a part of, and they didn't pay attention to anything that I said. They're putting that out there like, hey, we have Black authors and we have Black stories. No, you don't. You don't feature these stories, right? So they feature very few Black authors. They feature the ones, there are a couple that they like to feature that are more performing for white people. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. They tend to want to look to those people than the rest of the community. So no, there's no representation within feature stories at all. There's none.
And I agree. Star, can you recollect any Black main characters in episode official stories?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't think I've ever read an episode official story, just because I don't read stories without diversity. So it just doesn't work for me.
Oh, that's. I mean, yeah, episode official stories are known to not really have much effort put into them, and that's not being shady, but it is common knowledge that the user stories are more thought out and more quality than their actual official stories. Sweet, when you do see a Black character in an episode official story, what is their role in the story?
I'm actually with Star on this. The last episode official story that I read was Pitch Perfect. So it's I do not read their stories because I know I'm not going to be represented in them. The same thing that you said about the quality of the stories really isn't up to par. I tend to stick towards community stories. So what I do recognize or see is that, we are definitely on the cover a lot of the times, but not in the story. The MC miraculously switched races once you join the story. So I don't have too much input on this.
So for anyone that has read episode official stories, if you have seen yourself in one of the stories, what did that role look like and how were you represented? This is open for anyone who wants to answer that question.
Sorry.
No problem. I'll try to answer it because when I first started reading in a community, I read official stories. I didn't know about user stories until, I became an author and got exposed to them through some of the friends that I made within a community. Typically, you just don't see representation. And as someone who used to read stories just to mock them, like let's go to My Teacher, My Gangster, whatever that story was called, where they had two Black men in that story called Thug 1 and Thug 2, if you remember that story. That's the type of representation that we get in the stories. We get to be the mean Black girl or the best friend Black girl. I mean, that's the extent of the representation that we have. The fact that they would even have two Black men dressed in what they would call urban wear, named Thug 1 and Thug 2, says a lot, right? And if you do happen upon a taupe tanned main character, there's customization. So no, they don't really represent any Black person in their stories. It's always, the mean girl or the best friend. Unless, actually, wait a minute. I haven't read the stories, but I've seen people talking about it, the race swapping that they're doing now. So you have authors in the community that are being featured, white authors, and they have two white characters. So to support diversity, they will make one of the characters Black, but that's not really supporting a Black character because they're not written as a Black character, So it's just basically a Black-based character.
Yeah, and also about those characters too, is when they take those white characters and try to make them Black characters or characters of color, all they do is make the skin brown and change the lip color to match. That's all they do. They don't change anything else. Like, I've seen the comparison side by side. Like, they literally only change the skin color. It's so bad. Like, how do you think that's a substitute for representation?
It's not a substitute.
Yeah, I want to add something.
Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, that's what they'll do. They'll have someone Black on the cover.
You cut out there a bit, Ella.
There is no one. Wait, I'm sorry. What happened?
You cut out a little bit.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
okay.
Like, you'll see these Black characters on the cover. You open them up, you don't see no Black people, and if you do, they're white people of color. They're people that have dark skin, blue eyes, straight hair. Please tell me where you see Black people that look like that.
Nowhere. So real
exactly.
quick, I just want to have someone talk about episode edits in light of the Black Lives Matter movement right now. And then after someone touches on that, then I'm going to ask them a few questions in closing, because we're going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. So recently there has been an influx of episode asset styled edits in the episode community that are made by predominantly not non-Black people. And people don't see a problem with that. So I'm going to go ahead and ask T, what is your opinion on these episode edits in light to Black Lives Matter? Or I can ask.
You stepped away. Sorry. I think she meant to send a message to everyone, but she only sent it to me by accident.
Okay, so if anyone wants to touch on that really quick, go right ahead. Clarky, would you like to talk about that for 1 second?
Yeah, sure. So the thing with the episode edits is I don't think people understand that like, I can get it, you're immersed in the community, you take episode edits seriously, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, outside of the community, it's a cartoon. It is a cartoon character associated with the story app that advertises bad boys and pregnancies when you're like cheating on your boyfriend or whatever. Like that, like people are not taking that seriously. And in general, like a cartoon is never going to carry the weight of the statement that Black Lives Matter. It's just not enough. Like, it's not the same thing as when artists are creating original art that's not associated with anything other than themselves. You know, that's them actually creating something for the movement. And when they're doing that and then they're not making trauma porn, that is when they're creating something that's actually beneficial. You know, it's something that when their Black followers see, or other Black people in general who will come across it, when they see it, they won't feel disgusted or like they're seeing something that's not meant for them. You know, when people are making the ink edits and stuff, that trauma porn, and even the ones that aren't trauma porn, even the ones that just say, like, have a sign with like Black Lives Matter, that performativism isn't for us. That is for non-Black people who want to see something and feel good and feel like they're getting a message, blah, blah, blah. Because they're not. They don't want anything in depth. They don't want anything deep. They just want to see an image that will pull at their heartstrings and make them feel something. That's what they want. And that's what they're looking for. And the people that create those edits that are putting it in contest entries, that are hashtagging it episode interactive, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, like literally the names of the people that have died, people who have just died, they are tagging their names in those posts. That is so messed up, so dehumanizing. Like, you, when you're making that stuff, it's not for us. It's not for us. It's not for the people suffering. It is for your performatism. It is for your ego, and it is for clout. It's for clout. Like, even if you say it's not for clout, like, it's for clout. You want people to recognize you for creating something that you think is such a big statement. You know, it's not information, it's not any of that. It's just a picture that made you feel like it made you feel like you're doing something when you're not. And that's what it is. And it's just, it's too much.
Yeah, I don't think people are realizing how traumatic it is for the Black community to come across that on your feed. You know, there's a reason why whenever you see a picture of like George or Brianna, or is it Brianna Taylor, that they're painted a certain way. You know, they're smiling or they have like flowers in their hair. Like, why do you think we would want to see someone in such, it's either white savior, you know, porn, or like Black trauma porn? It's really disgusting. And the thing is, you know, it's not for us because, one, when you're creating this ink edit, you're not even creating a Black person. What you're creating, it does not look like a Black person at all. And it's if you see, like the one that I saw yesterday was just so disgusting because it was so romanticized. Like, they had a whole paragraph underneath about what this person was feeling as they're dying, or I couldn't even finish it, but it's very disgusting to capitalize off of so much pain that an entire community is feeling. And if you were to do this, like, you know, I'm sorry, I just can't continue about it. It's just very disgusting. It's not in support. And when people from that community tell you that it's bad, don't do it, this doesn't help us, and you shut it down, you don't take down your post, you're not doing it for us. You don't care.
And another reason you can tell if they're being performative, like if you go on some of these artist pages, you don't see any Black characters at all. You don't. But since this happened, now all of a sudden everyone wants to do edits of Black characters. Of course, they want to, like, I don't know how to say it. Like, it's not happy. It's just like, it's hard to look at.
Yeah, it's
disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
All right, so we went a little bit over the time. Sorry if you guys can hear that noise in the background, but we went a little bit over the time, but I just wanted to get you guys' closing thoughts on this whole thing. just going over everything that we've discussed in each topic, I would just like to ask each and every one of you separately, and then we're going to go ahead and close out. How does it make you feel that episode does not listen to your legitimate issues, and how has it affected you today? So I'm going to go ahead and start with T. If you can go ahead and answer that the best way that you can.
Personally, it's been a fight for years. At some point, I was actually blacklisted, and they had blacklisted me and Ross specifically. They refused to talk to us. They said they wouldn't deal with us. They would only want to speak to like Scotty. They said basically because we were uncivil, and the problem is not us being uncivil, is that we were very straight to the point, and I don't do the whole respectable thing. Like, I'm sorry, my cat is meowing. I don't do.
It's okay.
I don't do that whole thing where you're supposed to be a certain way to be like. I don't do that whole thing where people want you to
Respectability
like, what you have
politics.
to say. Yeah, I don't do respectability
Yeah.
politics. You guys know that. I don't see why do I have to filter my feelings about anything I go through, anything anyone in my community goes through, anytime there's some sort of injustice, anytime there's some sort of unfairness. Why does it have to be put into like a little? Why do I have to be fragile about the people who are doing the harm's feelings? Like, I don't understand that. Ross doesn't understand that. So for us to get blacklisted and people and the company refused to speak to us.
And sorry, one note that I want to add was Ross was an episode writer. Like, she was contracted.
An official,
like,
yeah. But she had to have people talk. Like, it was basically somebody had to be a middle person. So it was just a lot, and she was already in the contract. And because Ross is an actual lawyer outside of her writing career, of course they knew what kind of situation they would get themselves into if they were to like go down the wrong hole. But we were definitely blacklisted for a while, and they like, even when I was supposed to just have that one-on-one conversation with Liz on the phone, Liz put somebody else in the conversation basically as a witness because she thought I was going to tear her apart. And it's like, I'm not trying to tear you apart. It's just the fact that you do things. You told me to be civil, and that is disrespectful. Why are you telling me to be civil because I am telling you something is racist? How is that? You like that within itself is something racist. Like, you can't do that. And look at me now. We're in 2020, and these are issues since 2016. And nothing has really changed. All they do is basically say they're gonna. It's basically kind of like just a system, like the system that we're affected by daily, right? Everything is about reforming. Every time it gets reformed, it's just recycled, and the same things happen in different ways. And this is what the 𝙗𝙀𝙀𝘼𝙎 episode and all of them have been doing for a very long time, and it's tiring. I don't see any changes, and what they're doing, the statements that they're putting out, is not doing anything for me personally, and I don't think it's doing anything for us in general.
Yeah, I completely agree. Star, I want to go ahead and ask you the same question. How does it make you feel when episode doesn't listen to your issues, and how has it affected you today for however long you've been in the community?
So I've only been in the community for a little over a year. I joined late January of last year. So I haven't really experienced much, but I've never really looked to episode to solve much in the first place. I'm a very vocal person, so if someone is doing something or it's a specific person, then I'll let them know and I'll let it be known. And I literally don't care who or what the consequences are or what the repercussions are, because at the end of the day, when you're doing something like fighting for your rights or to be seen equally or heard equally, you can't be politically correct because people are going to shit on you. But at the same time, you're not supposed to be an angry Black woman. So it's difficult to deal with in situations like that. But as far as episode, I never really looked to them to solve anything for me. It is what it is. Like, if they want to step in, then that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's just me. Like, I gotta handle whatever the hell the situation is.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but just recently you have been targeted by one of episode's like top writers. And have they done anything about that as of now, or however long that was, which was the past few days, to be honest?
So if you're referring to Margot, then
I have them.
yeah, no. So so in terms of her, episode hasn't done anything. Again, like I said, I don't look to episode to do anything. My main concern is that the people who are supporting her know what she's really like, because like I wouldn't want someone to just let me support someone who isn't for my people or their readers, right? So Plop now, I know, has parted ways with Margot, just because of screenshots I've gotten, people communicating with them and making sure that they've seen what she posted. An episode apparently claims that they're looking into it and they'll start an investigation. So I don't know how far that'll go. Like I said, I've only been in the community for a little over a year, so I'm not sure what the trend is with investigating authors, because I don't even follow episode on Instagram. I don't follow episode creators. Like, I don't get much news from them. I don't know.
And that's completely understandable. Next, I want to ask Jazz the same question. How does it make you feel that episode doesn't listen to your issues or even others' issues, and how has that affected you today?
I think it just makes me feel that we're not necessarily wanted in the community, but we're just here to make them money. Because obviously we are here, we create for them, but they don't support us. But I'm used to it at this point, and I shouldn't have to say that I'm used to it, but I am used to it. And I just don't know how to feel about it. I don't think I'm going to stick around. I'm waiting to see what happens with this Margot situation, and if they don't do anything, I'm gone, because it's been too long, and they've shown time and time again how they feel, and I'm just tired of it.
And that's understandable as well, because like I said, it's not it's something that we deal with in real life and then have to be subjected to in the community as well. So I want to go ahead and ask Ella the same question. How does it make you feel that episode doesn't listen to your issues, and how has it affected you today?
I'm gonna make this really quick. Like it just makes me sad. It makes me really, really sad, because I really enjoy writing on episodes. Like I started writing on episodes. I started writing on episode around the time my mom had to start getting treatments for like MS, and I've used that to like just to keep my mind occupied. And when things like this happen on here, it really just makes me sad. Like there's no other word. Like angry that they don't do anything, angry that they don't care, and just sad.
Yeah, that pretty much, it was a good sum up of the two emotions that I'm pretty sure all of us feel. I'm gonna go ahead and ask Clarky the same question. How, or have I asked you, Clarky? I don't think so. But how does it make you feel that episode doesn't listen to your issues or other Black authors' issues? And how has that affected you in the community today?
I think it just really shows that they're not for us. Like, constantly we've been ignored. Like, it's only recently where I have felt like someone on the episode team has actually listened to my concerns, and that's only one person out of their whole team that's been listening. Just one person out of years of being here and communicating with them back and forth. Only one person, and she's new. Like, it's mind-boggling. And also, like, with like how it's like affecting me and things, I think one thing I really want to point out is, like, episode is supposed to be fun for us. It's supposed to be fun, yet we're here doing all of this work being stressed, because at the end of the day, episode's not doing their job for us. They're not looking out for us. They're not being there for us. They do, like, they basically tell us over and over and over and over again that they don't care. And I see that affect other people in the community as well. Like, how many of us have like taken breaks, have been gone for months and stuff because of the stress that this causes us? Like, it's not right. It's not right. And they need to step up and they need to take action. They need to self-educate, because like, we can't keep babysitting them. We can't keep telling them how to treat us. We can't keep telling them how to be there for us. They need to start learning and do the work so like this doesn't happen anymore. Like, the fact that it happens in the first place is unacceptable. Like, they should know this. Like, as a company, how do you have this stuff on your list as a company? People can say this about you and it be true. Like, how does that make you feel when that's your name, that's everything you've worked for, and you're okay with it being like this? You don't want to do the work to educate yourself so it's not like this? It's just a joke. It is a joke.
Yeah. You've honestly gotten me speechless because I'm thinking right now just how this has gone on for so long. And I am one of those people that did take a break from the community because it was just a little bit too much for me. So I'm just gonna lastly ask Sweet the same question. How does it make you feel that episode doesn't listen to your issues or other Black authors' issues, Black community members' issues? And how has that affected you today?
You know, I'm gonna try to keep it short, but it makes me frustrated, to say the least. I think episode knows that there's not any other platform that is like theirs, that has a community like theirs, and because of that, they don't feel that they need to be held. They don't hold themselves accountable. You know, they know that if we were to go to Wattpad or to Plop Now or whatever else is out there, we're not going to have the same experience as it is with episode, because you know, the graphics on there are great. You know, we all want to experience it. The fact that we get to write on there, it's amazing. But the community and the way that episode themselves handle, it's just aspects of the community, and the way that episode handles our situations, they drop the ball. And the way that it affects me, it's sad because a lot of us, we use this as a hobby, as an escape. And unfortunately, we don't get to escape the racism when we come here. You know, like, everyone gets to run away to a fantasy land and enjoy stories. But when we go into these stories, we often see things that kind of snap us back into reality where, okay, yeah, even here in my escape, I can't escape this. And that is I think that's what hurts the most.
I can definitely agree with everything that you said as well. For me, it is frustrating as well. Like Ella said, it's sad. It angers me. I definitely feel like episode does things to be performative. And it's definitely a form of performative allyship, which is not too far from many of the community members as well. Because what's surprising to me is that the people in the community are the ones that have been tormenting us for all these years. But now that what has happened today in the Black Lives Matter movement has been more amplified, then all of a sudden there's wannabe Black solidarity in the community, which I have never seen ever before, to be honest. So to me, that's what's kind of flabbergasting, I would say, because it's like, when we're actually speaking about this and we have like 15 million Instagram stories on our page saying, hey, this person is literally discriminating me, being racist to me, then we're causing drama. They don't want to see this negativity. But then we have something like this where when all the attention is actually on the Black Lives Matter movement, then everyone wants to hop on and they're not donating, they're not out protesting, they're not providing links, and not actually doing stuff that's going to help the cause in real life, because it's not just us. This is happening in real life. So that's what kind of bothers me, is just the duality of the situation, where you can see right through it in the episode community. And And them as a company, it reflects on the members of the community as well, which I want to just close out and say is that Episode isn't doing anything, and they have never done anything. So that has given their community members leeway to continue doing what they're doing. So I personally do not want the fake allyship. Like, I would rather not see that. I would just like to see action. And that's pretty much what I have to say about that, because it's a lot. And we got out as much as we could right now. But I just want to thank you guys for participating in this with me, because I know we've been talking about this for such a long time. But I just actually wanted to get all of you guys' voices together to discuss this, you know. And yeah, just thank you guys so much, because you guys have enlightened me. You guys are getting me to realize some things like now in this moment that I'm kind of lost for words for, to be honest. So yeah, thank you guys again.
Of course, thank you for having us.
No problem. So I'm just going to close this out and say that if by the end of this, you've watched this and like me, you've come to new realizations, and you want to also hold Episode accountable as Black authors or Black community members, feel free to speak out, because we have been doing that, but your voice is not unheard. In my last video, there were people in this community that did not know the stuff that was going on, but now they see. So your voice is not unheard, and I want to just emphasize that. So if you guys just want to say your goodbyes, and then I'm going to close it out after this meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Thank you for
Yeah, thank you
putting this
for
together.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right,
It's
guys.
very much appreciated.
This has honestly made me feel so good. Like, hearing you guys' voice, your opinions outside of just like an Instagram story, and actually hearing you guys say this stuff, it adds a certain emotion that I didn't realize that would be not triggering in a bad way, but like triggering in a humanity way, like on a humility level. So I appreciate that aspect as well. All right, I'm going to end this out. You guys can continue on with your days. Thank you.
Bye.
Again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And that was not the end of our conversation. There were also some Black authors that could not be a part of our Zoom conversation, but they did send me some written formats of their thoughts on the Episode community. So here I have a statement from a Black Episode community member, Francesca M. Stories. You can find them on Instagram. I'll put their username here. And this statement says, so my insight on what's going on with Episode. We all remember the racism issue we had last year on Episode around January, if I'm not mistaken. I remember that every single Black author, editor, or even the allies said something about it on their Instagram story. By the end of it, we actually managed to block the person's Instagram profile and then remove them from the platform. But the shocking thing about it was the time Episode took before saying something. That didn't really change much for the community. And that's when we realized that Episode simply doesn't care about their Black community. They said that the app can be used by anyone. From what we all expected, that actions would be taken from them to protect us from the racist trolls that any community has. Obviously, that wasn't the case, but that made them realize that if they don't do anything to celebrate and respect the people of color in the community, not just Black people, they would simply lose their company. During this whole issue, the woke side of the community also saw the true colors of big authors and how ignorant and racist most of them are. Once again, Episode couldn't do anything about it because it was an issue that started on the Instagram platform. The fact that they were targeting Black Episode authors on Instagram was like a wall to them, because they had to call Instagram and ask them to do something about it. And I believe they didn't do it. Comparing all of that to what's happening today in the world, why did other writing platforms instantly share their thoughts and links to help the protests, to donate to George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery's families, to spread awareness and more? But Episode waited days, once again, before doing all that. And once again, big episode authors showed their true colors about the situation. A big part of the community posted screenshots with the other authors saying racist, offensive things about Black people, and thank God we stopped supporting them. But they will stand, and unless episode acts up, those people won't change and keep doing and saying offensive and racist things. And I agree with every statement that you said, Francesca, and that's the common thing with most of what the Black authors said, is that episode does not hold any of their authors accountable for being racist, and that's a huge problem. And now I also have a statement from 𝙈𝙀𝙀𝙀𝘼 on Instagram. I'll put her handle here. She was going to be a part of our Zoom call, but unfortunately could not make it because she was under the weather. Sorry, I need to be looking at the camera. So I sent her the questions and she answered them in doc format. I will also leave the link to this statement if you guys would like to read it after the fact, but I'll put the questions on screen and I'll just read out her responses here. So she said, I joined the episode community at the end of 2016, and a little bit before I turned 18, I'd read some episode stories, official and user written, and when I found out about the portal, I loved the idea of being visually able to create your own stories. And the next question, she answered this question by saying, I don't think I experienced discrimination personally since I tend to keep to myself, but I've definitely seen other people of color in the community experience awful things. Most of what I've experienced myself are microaggressions, rude fan mail, some racist and homophobic comments, this character is ugly, why can't they be customized, using ethnic features on my customizable characters as part of a joke, insisting on heteronormativity. I haven't really kept track of many times I've seen or experienced those things, but they've definitely happened throughout the time I've been in the community. So she went ahead and answered this question about episode's 2017 diversity statement that they put out after many Black authors actually had phone conversations with them via Skype and discussed all these things that they can implement to better help their community and better help their app. And this is what Soraya says in response to this question. The thing is, at first glance, it looks like it's there. The art on shelves and posts is inclusive. The cover art on their official stories contain a lot more main characters of color than anyone would have dreamed back in 2017. But most of it is surface level. The trending section is still full of spray-tanned, dark white women. I know episode doesn't directly control what's in the trending section, but it would help if they promoted more diverse stories in contests and trending shelves, etc. A common thing to see on their official stories nowadays is a cover with a main character of color, and when you click and read the story, the actual main character is white or customizable. I was one of the people the episode community manager spoke to when writing their diversity statement in 2017. The question back then, and still now, do they actually care about promoting diversity or inclusion, or do they only want to be seen doing the bare minimum so they can get their brownie points for it? And I totally agree with every statement that you said, because if you've listened to the whole Zoom conversation that we had, we all feel the same way, is that mostly episode is doing this to be performative, but their actions are not followed up by the performativeness that they're showing. So she answers this next question about the stereotypes that run rampant in episode stories, whether that be featured or user stories. So she says, I've seen everything ranging from the typical Black best friend characters that speak with incorrectly used AAVE and slang to just straight up caricatures. The most recently awful one, I think, was of the 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝘼 situation. I think we all know enough about that one, LOL. Yes, I actually inserted a screenshot of that in my previous video, but I'll just go ahead and insert it here. The story had a lot of other problematic subject matter, but we're speaking on Black issues here, and it was just really disturbing to see something like this and the authors say that, you know, we were the ones that were overreacting. The people in the Black community are overreacting from a Black stereotype. So it just isn't something nice to see. The next question, I basically asked, what were the repercussions from episode to these authors when these Black authors make these claims? So Tori responds and says, always defensive, always quick to say they're being bullied. The only time I've ever seen repercussions from the episode team was with the story romanticizing abuse and sexual assault being taken down. And that was only after weeks and weeks of complaints from the community. If a story or a writer makes them money, they're quick to cast a blind eye. All fact, no cap. So the next question I have was about episode official stories and if she can name any Black main characters from the top of her head. And she said not a single one. Not to be shady, but it would have been cool to be able to say Princess Leona from Instant Princess here. And that actually made me feel so upset because I remember when LB, who is the author of that story, brought it to our attention of what was happening, and we actually watched her cry on camera. She didn't intentionally want to cry, but it hurt her so bad that we saw her cry on Instagram Live about how hurt she was that episode did this to her. Not to mention that LB was one of the people that allowed us to have more darker complexions in the episode ink skin tone colors and also more darker complexion friendly lip colors other than dark red in the episode ink portal. So for them to turn around and do this to her, and not only that, steal the episode story idea. I will put the episode cover here. They haven't said anything about this, but the episode community members pretty much put 2 and 2 together. Now, this is only alleged. I'm not saying it was confirmed, but there are definitely correlations. I go on to ask what representation looks like in episode official stories. And Tori replies and says, usually some form of either tokenism or performative. You can practically feel the, look, we have diversity, now give us a cookie through the screen. So now we've reached present time. And I asked specifically if she thought that episode statement was sincere when they spoke out again about the Black Lives Matter movement that is happening today, which is in light of police brutality against Black people. And she said, I think episode's statement was sincere, and they said what they felt was right at the time. But that doesn't mean that what they said was actually enough, if that makes sense. It makes complete sense. I doubt it was intentional, but listing Black authors they feature felt again like begging for brownie points. Look how diverse we are. Well-intentioned doesn't always mean it's going to be well received. I don't think they were malicious, but if they actually hired Black people to post, it would have come across as more sensitive. And I definitely believe that that was the problem with their 3 Instagram posts that they made, which I said previously that I feel like it was damage control for each and every one of them. If they actually had a Black person on their team to make these statements, this problem would not even be a thing. So I go on to ask Tori about larger authors in the community and why does she feel like episode does not hold them accountable. And she responded, they make episode a lot of money, so they have that protection. It irritates me, but I understand it. I don't think it's right, but I see why they protect them. I know it's pessimistic of me, but at the end of the day, episode is a business. Our feelings come second to their cash. I have nothing to say to that because that's unfortunately true. So just the closing question that I asked everyone in the Zoom meeting, I just said, how does it make you feel when episode doesn't listen to your issues? And how has being in the episode community affected you today? So Tori goes on to respond, discouraged. I feel like I'm putting energy into something that I'm not getting anything back from. I've grown to stop expecting things from them. It lessens the disappointment. I've made friends through the episode community that I can't imagine living without. I've grown as a writer, both in confidence and skill. I think I've been here so long, I'm a little jaded by the bad things, but the good things are the reason I stick around. I won't bother waiting for episode to accept me as a queer Black person. I'll just keep doing and writing my stories for myself and people who care. And I think that that's the perfect way to end this video, is that many of the Black authors have left the community after all of the time and effort put in with communicating with the episode team, and they're exhausted. And they've been exhausted for free. But many of us have stuck around because there is that factor of making, I feel like, lifelong friendships in this community. whether we have our issues with episode or not. And some of us have grown numb to episode not doing anything because it's expected. So we just put that behind us and we continue to do what we're doing and talk to our friends and continue to make our stories. And that's as far as we're gonna get with it. So I thank you guys for watching this entire video. If you've made it to the end, feel free to drop a comment. Your comments on this matter is much needed. If you, again, are a Black voice, I feel like it is important to voice your opinion as well, because your voice is not falling on a deaf ear. We're listening, and someone else might hear you and relate to you. And I hope that this changes in the future. Again, I feel like we've gone numb to it, so we're not expecting much change, but I hope that there is. I genuinely do. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. If you like to see more of my videos, go ahead and watch more of my videos. And if you would like to see the next upload or previous uploads, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. It is much appreciated, and I will see you guys in my next one. Peace.